Welcome back to my garage. This is the first episode in a series about poor man porting tools. First, I will start off with the different tools I use. First episode will be about that, about the various tools you need to start out porting. And then in further or in other episodes, I will start showing you the various porting tool prototypes I've come up with. I meant to make just one episode about all those tools, but I think the subject is a bit large for just one episode, so I decided to make a series. Okay, and my crank is I've cleaned it up and epoxied, encapsulated the inside the webs. The welds inside the webs are encapsulated in epoxy and curing, so we'll soon be ready to start assembling the engine. Okay, I'll bring you over to my porting station. This won't be a porting tutorial. I won't tell you anything about how to make your cylinder great. Make your cylinder great again. I will just show you the tools and how I use them, and and I will make another series about how to port, or how to Great! I will make a series showing you how to mark up your cylinder for porting and how you go about doing that. But this episode and this series will be about the tools you need and how to use them. Okay, let's go! Okay, so the first thing you should get, or maybe not the first thing, but something else where it's very convenient to have, is a headlight or flashlight to put on your head, because then you will have light exactly where you look every time and all the time. So very convenient. You need files, big files, for if you want to really hog out the exhaust port, and smaller files for more detailed work or careful work, careful grinding on the inside of primarily the exhaust port, because that's the only port you can reach with straight files like this. Diamond files, especially nice to have when trying to break through the Nika seal coating on aluminium cylinders, and also very nice to use for carefully chamfering port edges, because it's extremely fine. More files files in different sizes. Using files is a very safe way of doing it, because you remove very little material at a time, but it is very time consuming, and you won't be able to reach all the places you want to, or it can be inconvenient sometimes to use files. But a great way to do it, because there's one mistake with a file is does not cause as much damage as one mistake with a grinder, which can wreck your cylinder. So that brings us to the next tool you should get, and that's some kind of Dremel tool, and preferably with a flex shaft, because first of all it's much smaller, so you can reach into tight spaces, tight spots much easier, and also if you get one of those cheap knockoffs like I've done, Using the flex shaft all the time seems to save the bearings in the Dremel itself, or the knockoff Dremel, and it will last for a very long time. Mine has, I've had this one for, I don't know, a couple of years, and I've used it a lot, many hours, and it still works just as like it was new. So, the brand is Meek. So, but that's some generic China thing, rebranded for a Norwegian company. So, just a cheap Dremel knockoff with a flex shaft should do. It does for me, anyway. You can also buy one of these China dental tools, and the straight handpiece seems to be lasting okay. The reason I bought this one was to get, I think I've misplaced it, but it came with a right angle. I may have thrown it away too because it's broken. Came with the right angle tool, like the one you see the dentists use, but that just broke right away. So that's the reason for this series, and the next episodes we will I will show you some ideas for making do-it-yourself right angle porting tools. But anyway, grinders, and with the small, you can also get those pencil air die grinders, tiny ones. Uses the same bits as these ones, and yeah, so you need bits. The most useful bit is a bit like this, and in a few different sizes. That will get you a long way. A bit with a long cutting edge is preferable, because then it's easier to get smooth surfaces, as opposed to if you use one of these ball end bits or tiny ball bits. It's much easier to get kind of a uneven and pitted surface using one of these. But in some spaces you might have to use one of these. But in most cases you will get by with something like this. If you want to, oh, and diamond bits too. Really nice for cutting through the nickel seal coating before you start cutting into the aluminium, to not cause these bits, and especially the single cut ones like this, can easily chip nickel seal coating. So, but if you grind it off with a diamond tool first, that will prevent that from happening. Yep. Sandpaper, various grits from rough to fine, really fine. The fine sandpaper is nice for smoothing over the port edges when you're done with the grinding. Transfer ports. Without a right angle tool, it's hard to get anything done with the transfer ports. You can use files, you can buy rifler files, or you can bend regular straight files like I've done here. Just make sure that you heat up the area where you want to bend them before you try, or else they will break because they're hardened. And focus the heat in just the area you want to bend, because if you heat up the rest, it will lose the hardness and it won't cut anymore, or it will get dull real quick. The way I use this is that's probably obvious, but let's see if I can get you in focus here, or in the frame. I just hold it like this and I rub or file away. And this, as you can imagine, can be very time consuming. But it gets the job done. It just takes time. So if you really want to port your transfers and you don't have the tools, you can do it with bent files. It will take you hours, but what's a few hours for some real performance? Okay, there's a few other ways you can try for reporting transfers, or you can use, but it's hard to get real good results. That's because you won't be able to reach far into the transfers, so you will end up with the same shape, a transfer with stock shape, and then reshaped just at the cylinder end, or at the mouth of the transfer. So you can use this, and you can reach in with your Dremel tool. The thing about porting is you have to get everything just exactly right. If you're half a millimeter off, that can mean a ruined cylinder, or if you slip with your grinder, it can mean that you have ruined the cylinder. So you have to be real careful about what you do. And it's a good idea to have a plan before you start cutting. And I should know, because I've cut up a lot of cylinders without a real plan. Okay, so let's see if you can see this on camera. So as you can see, it's possible to reach in there, and you can even do the roof or the floors too, but it's not very precise. Another trick you can try using if you want to widen transfers. It's not recommended, and you won't get a real good shape or duct shape. It's just the end of the transfer that will get wider or be widened. But this tool too, and a ball carbide bit can be used to re-angle transfers, or also widening and lifting them. But it's not won't do a very good job at that, but it may do a good job at just widening your transfer, changing the angle of one of the walls. Say the back wall of your bead transfers are aimed the wrong direction, and you want to change it. This tool might do the trick. So I'll show you how I do that. So let's try to see if I can do it on camera here. So, as you can see, I've started to reshape that sidewall of the transfer. Now, this is not recommended methods, and the results may vary, might not be very good doing it this way. The best way is to use a right angle porting tool, and that's why I'm going to try making a few different prototypes for cheap do-it-yourself right angle porting tools. yeah, didn't show you. You can use these diamond bits too, the same way as I did with this bit. Use your Dremel up in there and stick it into the ports like this. Okay, so that's it for this first episode in this series. Now the fun begins. We will start talking about various ways to make custom, do-it-yourself, cheap, poor man's right angle porting tools. Okay, so stay tuned!